who they have to plan for, who they have to play against. The reality is they probably feel...
But on the same token, you know, if they have a more difficult run-in, maybe that's better practice heading into playoffs. That's another question.
Is it the practice? Is it that mentality? Is it the strats? It's easier to counter-strat when you have more time for one team than the other. Well,
let's see how long it takes D-Field to actually get into this fight, because he was a little bit late to connect, but he's right there, so that's okay. Both teams going for a bit of a brawl here on the point. We've got a Reinhardt on both sides, actually, which is a little bit surprising, but so far, no one managing to get a kill just yet.
Yeah, pushing onto the point now. 6 players from Darkside on the point. Tainted Minds trying to force their way through. There's your hammer down coming out from a Reinhardt, but one falls down. Tanks across the board going down here now for Tainted Minds, I think. Less than ideal. Coalescence should, I think, swing this back across the Darksider now, Elfishguy.
Yeah, just a couple of ultimates coming up there for Darksider as opposed to only the single one really for Tainted Minds. We saw Coalescence come out very, very early on from Baby Poro, but the Earth Shatter from
was
Mooney.
Very early on, wasn't it?
That was essentially what made the difference, really, for Darksider. That was enough to get them that single pick that they needed to start to steamroll that fight. Then Coalescence comes up for Molotov. That's kind of the win condition then eventually. Like, they have that, they pop it, they win the fight, and they overwhelm Tainted Minds. So just a little bit extra coming out there from Darksider, and maybe a little bit of extra damage early on in the piece that does net them a big result in the end there. And already up to 25%. Tainted Minds going to come and try and retake in here with their ultis, but we've got a whole hog out from USMC to try and push them at bay.
I was going to say, I feel like maybe Tainted Minds might get the better of this here, purely because they've used less ultimates and have more to stack. You can see that Coalescence coming down as well as Reinhardt. So Turmo now ready to go. No, going to go down. As you see, Tainted Minds actually manages to pick this one up, Jordan.
Yeah, they certainly do, but still a lot of time being wasted right now by Darksider, up to 50%, so that's cost Tainted Minds a little bit. By the time Darksider is ready to come back into this, they should be able to contest before it hits 50% for Tainted Minds. So overall, not too bad of a scenario right now for Darksider, and they've got some ultis coming up. They've got Turmo there, and of course Molotov is up to 90% as well. Only concern for me is that I think it's going to be quite difficult getting in here onto Tainted Minds, given they've got the high ground, and Darksider, you know, they've got the Roadhog, they've got the Reinhardt. It's not easy to get up there in a fight, but they're just going to jump on the fight, or on the point rather, and force Tainted Minds down, which is a good decision.
It's clearly whoever's got the Earth Shatter, Jordan, that's the one that wins the fight. Well, and there comes another Earth Shatter out of Darksided, along with Turmo, going to rip Tainted Minds to shreds and pick them up the point. That's it. I told you. It's all about the Earth Shatter.
It's all about the Earth Shatter. Really good combination there from Darksider. They didn't have to put too much into there. I mean, the Coalescence did come out as well from Molotov, but it looked pretty easy and simple for Darksider. Well, on the other side of the coin, though, I'm not really sure how much Tainted Minds really wanted to actually invest into that one, because now they're coming into this fight again with a huge amount of ults. That's a great pick, though, by Mooney, being very, very cheeky around the corner on the Reinhardt. Self-destruct now comes out as well, and that gets D-Field. This should shut things down for Tainted Minds, which is really, really bad, because they've already invested the sound barrier into that fight, and you know, they kind of have to fall back and back off here and wait for their next fight, but I don't know if they're going to have the time. Darksider is doing a really good job of chasing them down. Up to 85% already. This is going to be a massive stagger, and Tainted Minds are really just going to kind of have to falter their way onto the site. Sorry, one by one. Slip of the tongue, but look, this is really bad for Tainted Minds, Ben.
It is less than ideal. Mooney has that Earth Shatter ready to go once again, and well, 2 players already picked up now.
Yeah, they can't even get on it,
and they cannot get onto the point. It was really. It was the second Earth Shatter coming out of Mooney onto the Death Blossom, eliminated the entire team. Then the next push, they lost 2 plays so quickly.
It was Mooney getting the pick there onto Baby Poro that really swung the difference for Darksided. And Tainted Minds, they were in actually a fairly decent position in terms of the ult economy to try and retake that. They had 3 or 4 ultimates available, and even a couple more coming up fairly shortly, where Darksided had maybe 1 or 2. But that pick pushes Tainted Minds back, then Darksider recognize that they can chase this one down and essentially nullify any kind of ultimate advantage that Tainted Minds have. So that's really, really smart from Darksider, and Tainted Minds, they don't even get the opportunity to utilize any of their ultimates. They're going to be feeling a little bit unhappy about that one, but we'll see if they can make it work here in round number 2. Yeah, already down 1-0 though.
It almost felt like they were able to go 1 for 1 there.
They probably should have been able to.
But just, unfortunately, that pick was a crucial one, Jordan, so it makes life very, very difficult when you're already down 1 or 2 players. And right now, Tainted Minds, they've essentially swapped sides here and taking a little bit of damage, but everyone managing to get healed up So far, so good. Point is now about to unlock.
It's a bit of a clash of two worlds because we've got Dive, we've also got Darksided that just want to sort of sit on that point and be a bit of a sentry turret, even as a team, and the dive does come in now from Tainted Minds. Hasn't necessarily worked out, although Turbo does go down. There's a trade from Darksided, not to mention also the D-Mech onto Quad J, so overall a net positive. However, there goes an Orisa. Punk goes flying off the edge. Not going to matter though. Darksided managed to get a few kills. Molotov and Mooney finding some. And it's going to be a clean wipe onto that point. I think for Tainted Minds, they just didn't get enough early on in that dive. And, you know, once that fight starts to prolong a little bit, you've got Darksided there with a Junkrat spamming away, the Soldier as well. A lot of consistent damage out from those two, where from Genji and Tracer, you really just want to get that pick initially and get maybe those resets onto the Genji so that he can start popping off. But didn't really happen for for Tainted Minds. And now that Darksided have situated themselves on the point and sort of set themselves up, it's going to be even more difficult. That'll help.
It's very hard here as well on this map, I feel, to execute that dive correctly sometimes. But Tainted Minds pulling it out this time around, picking up a number of kills. And Slidsaw J there coming up with the Dragon Blade, finish them off.
Yeah, not going to be too concerning though for Darksided. Obviously, they lost a player very early on in that fight. The call was made, don't invest anything here. Not that they really had anything to invest, but they were quite comfortable to let that one slip, and now they can sort of come in and retake here with their ultimates and really start to put the pressure on Tainted Minds.
Turbo ready to go with a Riptire. Tainted Minds want to get as much on the clock here as they can. But I'd like to think this ultimate advantage for Darksiders should prove enough, and the reality is they managed to capture it back without a fight, Jordan. The Riptide now going to come out here from Turbo onto the point, trying to chase down a support perhaps. Less ideal up against Trismail, to be fair.
Doesn't really matter though. Like, it doesn't matter what he gets with that one as long as he gets something out of it. And already you can see the flip has come across again for Darksided in all of this madness that's on the point. So while Tainted Minds are trying to retake this one, Darksided is still counting up their timer, and they will inevitably lose the fight, but still, they managed to get something off the board off that. You know, they get up to 25% more than what they initially would have gotten.
Well, they walked onto the point, Jordan. Exactly. It wasn't even a fight. Like, they walked on, got it, and then the retake was there for Tainted. So
and that was time that Tainted Minds could have been ticking up to, you know. It could be at 75% to 25% had Tainted Minds been able to get on there. But initially, you know, they lost Slidsaw J very early because of the steel trap. Turbo getting a free kill off that one. And that's a problem sometimes for Dive. If you sort of get stuck in your position, you're essentially an easy kill because the advantage of Dive is the mobility that those sort of heroes do grant. And again, we're going to see the Dive coming out, but no kills as of yet. USMC under pressure, however.
The recap coming out for Darksided. You heard the supercharger coming out in the background. D-Field now with a pulse bomb looking for damage. Trismail going to come back. The USMC managed to get D-Field before that pulse bomb goes off, so that's going to be very beneficial. And now, looking less ideal here for Tainted Minds, Jordan. Darksided managing to get these ticks that they want, getting up to that 90% very, very soon, and in a good position as well.
I'm not sure how easy that dive was actually going to be to execute for Tainted Minds because they decided to go in onto USMC. He had the Zenyatta orb on him, he had a Pocket Mercy, and he might have also had his own healing down, which is like, you know, how much healing is that? You're going to try and cut through with, what, a Winston maybe and a Tracer? It's going to be tough unless you're hitting all of your shots and making them headshots as well. So very, very tough for Tainted Minds, but they've got one more chance at this one. It doesn't look like it's going to go too well, Ben.
Certainly does not, and you see them get baited onto the point there. Turbo doing a ton of damage, picking up 2 in the process. And we're into overtime, but it shouldn't last very long at all. Darksided going to pick up Nepal 2-0 up against Tainted Minds. Really, the first part seemed closer. As soon as we came across onto the second section, it was far less ideal.
Yeah, look, you might think everything was kind of close there. I mean, Tainted Minds were allowed to get a little bit of time on the point on a couple of points, actually.
If you went off Village alone, you're like, yeah, this is okay.
You know, they got up to 50% or more even on some of those. But the real fact of the matter is that Tainted Minds were never going to win that because Darksided every single time were sort of just giving up those fights, allowing Tainted Minds to cap. They're thinking, okay, look, we've lost the fight, but we haven't really lost it. We've just given it up. We've not invested anything into it. We can come back in, retake with our ultimates. It never felt like a dangerous scenario for Darksided. It always felt like they were really in control of that one, purely based on the economy game and not necessarily just the economy game like what we saw in that first round, but just their play around what they needed to be doing and how they needed to be picking players and what they were essentially forcing Tainted Minds, or what situation they were forcing Tainted Minds into.
Yeah, it always feels, I suppose, like in this situation, a team like Darksided should firstly be able to outplay them individually if they theoretically have better individual players, then as a team, those strats are coming across as well. It's like a double-edged sword that can make life just that little bit more difficult.
But I mean, I don't know if it was necessarily like strats, I suppose, from Darkside, and more so just knowing what they needed to do at any given time. It was just they had a better grasp of when to chase picks, when to try and find the openings, and they were able to make that work for them. And Tainted Minds, unfortunately, a couple of players lost it in some pretty critical times, do net them a pretty convincing loss 2-0.
Yeah, less than ideal, but Darkside are going to be happy to get one on the board. Tainted Minds, however, it wasn't a complete wash, and I feel there's a little bit there maybe they can take.
They were able to win some fights, so that's
exactly.
I suppose good to see.
It is definitely better than the alternative of absolutely getting smashed.
But I feel as though they were fairly advantageous fights to begin with for Tainted Minds. You know, they came in with 3 or 4 ultis and they popped them all, and Darkside was like, okay, maybe they invested 1 or something like that. Ended up sort of giving up as soon as they lost a player early on. So even though, you know, like I said, even though it was close in terms of the scoreline or the percentages, I don't think it was particularly close overall. And I mean, it hasn't filled me with any confidence that Tainted is going to be able to get a map here. Well,
talking about maps, let's push across and see what map number 2 will be. They have picked Numbani.
Yeah, that's been the go-to for Tainted Minds every single time so far. It hasn't really worked out for them, to be honest. So,
well, yeah, we say that, but I guess when nothing works out, right? So you've just got to, I think it's, I don't mind the concept of using this to really start working on a few maps that they want to improve on across the board.
But on the same token, you know, it does become fairly one-dimensional in that, you know, teams are going to start to recognize, okay, Tainted Minds, they want to play Numbani. We don't necessarily need to be particularly worried about Hollywood unless for some reason they throw a bit of a spanner in the works. But at this point, you can probably bet your bottom dollar that Tainted Minds is going to play Numbani. So you look at their Numbani, you say, okay, how do they play this? Well, on the attack, they have Slidzor Jade take the Pharah, and then they have Baby Poro pocketing that. What are we going to do around that? What are we going to do to play around that Pharah Mercy combo? Well, probably a Soldier, maybe a Sombra as well on that defensive side, just to cause some problems for it. And, you know, it's fairly one-dimensional the way that Tainted Minds do end up playing this, because we don't see that dive comp come out from them too often, actually, on attack.
Maybe they'll play something different this time.
Maybe.
Maybe I mean, Slidzor J actually will use Doomfist.
Well, look,
maybe Doomfist really will do the attack Torb.
if not Pharah here.
Definitely the attack Torbjorn. I'm ready for it.
Look, Genji might also come out for Tainted Minds. It has been picked up every now and then, but here you go. It's going to be the Pharah once more for Tainted Minds. This time, okay, I was going to say no mercy, but Baby Poro does swap off. So it's basically the exact same carbon copy of what we always see from Tainted Minds on the attack here. And I suspect Darksided, knowing them, are going to be pretty ready for this.
Maybe this time, Jordan, this time it's going to work. I feel like they've been improving with it across the board. We'll see how much damage Slidzor J can get in here up against Mooney and the rest of the team. Couple of plays on the site right now. Maybe Termo going to go down. He's certainly getting pushed back. Trismel's gone down Quad J as well. Not looking so good on the first effort here from Tainted Minds. Might need to drop back. Probably the best choice. And if they can stay alive and not feel too much ultimate, never mind.
Yeah, look, it was actually really good from Darksided there. They essentially ignored Slidzor J, and he wasn't able to put out enough damage and enough pressure for Darksided to necessarily be particularly worried about him and Baby Poro. Darksided just had great focus fire on the rest of the players. They focused on everyone else that was, you know, a little bit easier to hit, a little bit easier to kill, and didn't have a pocket mercy. So at the end of the day, Darksided win a very comfortable fight. Swilko now coming up on the ultimate, and we've got a couple more very, very close by for Darksided. So Tainted Minds putting themselves even in a more difficult position now heading into the second fight. Yeah,
there wasn't really enough damage going through that barrier projector anyway. So, and straight away Trismal goes down. So
it's just really good positioning out from Mooney because he's sitting up the top there. He goes, okay, Pharah's going to come around this corner. What am I going to do when the Pharah comes around the corner and tries to kill my squishies? Oh, you know what? I'm going to put a bubble down. Okay, now what can the Pharah do? Essentially nothing.
Nothing, because no one else is really targeting. Everyone else is in the barrier, already fighting.
And at that point, we've already seen Trismel go down early on in the piece. And Darksided now have built up 4 ultimates. They used just 1 in the last fight to win that one. Admittedly, Tainted didn't have any to sort of play with there, but realistically speaking, now it's 4-2. Baby Poro coming up on 1 as well, but I don't think that's going to make a difference. I think Darksided is going to hold strong again. Yeah, well, let's see. For me, they certainly seem to be targeting the tanks, and as you said, Trismal really hasn't had the best luck, unfortunately, because that's what the target has been. This time, D-Field pushes out instead. They try and take D-Field down well. Nice little pulse bomb coming out. Godswell goes through Quad J D-Mech there by USMC. Slidzor J does manage to find 1 kill, but goes down to the Tracer.
Darksided hold the point, 140 on the clock.
It's a one and done sort of an ultimate there for Slidzor. He was never really going to get much more out of it, and I suspect it was going to be because he wanted to swap off. He knew that he was going to die there. He's like, all right, I might just throw my ultimate out here and see what happens, but realistically, you're not going to get much out of it. Now we're going to see Tainted Minds sort of go back onto a bit more of dive composition, but I'm interested to see how this Moira kind of works into it again, because obviously that's been run so far for Tainted Minds, but the problem is that Moira can't have any sort of verticality. So how is Moira going to stay with the team? You know, she's going to be sitting on the ground running around. I don't know how the synergy is really going to work there.
Running around, putting your hands up into the air, Jordan.
Yeah, and that's
going to be
cheap kills for USMC.
Well,
exactly there.
Just like that. Yeah. Just like that. Now 60 seconds on the clock, and across the board, the Tainted Minds players are starting to fall. They're going to have essentially one last push here, and it's going to be a slow push because Darksided have forced their way all the way through to try and hold them back, try and pick up Slidzor, which they did manage to do.
Well, it's a pretty important fight now coming out for Tainted Minds. They've got as much as they're really going to get. D-Field will come up on the Pulse Bomb in this fight if he doesn't get picked early on in the piece.
5 stack of ultis.
Exactly. When you look at Darksided, they really have not invested much in the last couple of fights. Termo, the only one that doesn't have his here, but he probably can charge that up fairly quickly as well, knowing him. And now we're going to see the full investment from both teams coming into the final fight.
Self-destruct coming out, finds no one, but Slidzor goes down to USMC. D-Field, the only one on TM with any sort of ultimate, throws that one out, doesn't find anyone. Baby Poro's gone down. Darksided looking to be in a rather advantageous position here, and Termo picks up 3 with the tack visor. And not a single tick to Tainted Minds here on attack on Numbani.
Well, that's what happens when you try to push into 6 ultimates of players of the caliber of Darksided. They're not going to let that one kind of slip. So it didn't really seem at all threatening from Tainted Minds, which is pretty much what you expect in this matchup against Darksided. Like we said, we sort of expected this one to be
really quad tank,
more of a formality for Darksided than anything else. Quad tank.
A formality, Jordan, because it's quad tank.
4-0, I think, was more so what I was getting at there. But Darksided on quad tank or Tainted Minds on quad tank is what you're saying.
Look, I'll take both, but
I don't think either, to be honest. I mean, Darksided probably going to just go for the dive comp here. Tainted Minds, you're going to have that Soldier, you're going to have that Mercy. Maybe you can swap the Mercy out for an Ana, but I'm not sure that we've really seen Baby Poro playing the Ana all that much. So I think she's just going to stick on that Mercy, the comfort pick. And look, I mean, it's not a bad defensive setup in terms of the heroes that Tainted Minds are picking there. You know, they've got what tools they need. It's just going to be that the execution is going to be so much more solid here from Darksided. Not to mention the fact that they're not going to necessarily be hindered by having, you know, sort of a weird kind of attacking side. They're going to be able to go into that Genji. They're going to be able to go into the Tracer or the Sombra even if they want to, which is not something that Tainted Minds really have the flexibility to do, knowing their hero pools.
Get into position.
It's a big ask, but now's the time to do it, Jordan. There ever was a time to hold Darksided to 0-0.
Well, I don't know about you, Ben, but it kind of looks like Darksided is doing some sort of ritual here, which might not bode too well for Tainted Minds, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Now all they need is to put that on a cart.
Isn't it funny how Sombra crouch walks? I think it looks strange.
Didn't see, I must admit.
All right, well, Termo's going to be going onto the Pharah anyway, but USMC on the Soldier. So this is a little bit interesting from Darksided, changing things up a little bit.
So
it's going to be the Pharah Mercy combo.
Yeah, having a Soldier instead of a Tracer. See how that plays out. But they have a lot of time to work with to find just a single tick here on the A point of Numbani.
I mean, you can already see the difference here between Termo and Slidzor when they're playing the Pharah, is that Termo doesn't necessarily commit fully into that fight, you know.
He's just already gone.
Trying to cause some problems, and he's forced them off already. I mean, this is almost up to half of what Darksided need. And it's, I mean, do I need to say more about this one, Ben?
Look, before Termo was even within range of Tainted Minds, the Winston barrier projector was gone, came in, could actually do damage instead of being able to sit back at range. Wasn't taking any damage in return.
Yeah. And look, Darksided are just not trying to force anything there. They just go in, they sort of say, okay, let's see how much damage we can get out early. If we get a pick, we're going to commit off it. They do indeed get a pick, USMC finding the kill there on Soldier, and then from that point, the floodgates open, essentially. Darksided now up 2-0, and this might actually be one of the quickest series we've actually ever witnessed.
That was definitely a very quick Numbani, though, to be fair, in some of the other games we've seen, obviously the high or the team who's come off a win gets to pick the side because they don't get to pick the map. And sometimes we've seen teams pick the attacking side, which meant that they got all the way through to the end, and then they still defeated their opponents on the first round. Yeah. So there's always that to consider. But when you defend first and you do so very well, obviously there's the map has the potential to not go very long. Yeah,
look, Darkside are just backing themselves there as they should be. They are not concerned about what they really need to be doing on the defense. They know that they're going to be strong enough to hold out that first point, and they managed to get it done quite easily. Then they kind of waltz into their first fight on attack. They win. I mean, what more is there really to say? Like, I want to break down what happened there, Ben, but there wasn't a whole lot to actually break down.
There's not just that much to take away from that, but yeah.
But they're 2-0 up, so look, I mean, no complaints so far from me for Darksided.
Oh, well, we are 1/6 of our way through this triple header here today. It's Darksided up against Tainted Minds. We're going to take a very quick break, and when we come back, all of the second half action.